Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Microsoft 365 Pulse. We have about 45-ish updates for you today. Nothing in canceled, but some things in development, some things in rolling out, and then a couple of things in launched. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The first one is access Copilot directly in Classic Outlook for Windows. For those of us that have not embraced the hashtag new Outlook for Windows, for those of us who are not using the new Outlook, which I'm not still, um, Copilot's going to come to Classic Outlook. So that's a big one. That's in development. Um, and I'll kind of leave it there and then pass it to, I guess I'll go to Tamara, because every time I go to Tom, he just passes to Tamara anyway. So I'll go to Tamara and she can tell us what she liked in development.
Sure, there were a couple things. I've got so much yellow on my list, but one of the things that I really liked was in Outlook, RSVP improvements in event context menu in new Outlook for Windows and Web. So changes to the event's right-click context menu will make it easier to respond to meeting initiatives from the calendar surface. All RSVP options will be on the first level of the menu. There will also be separated options to respond to either all events in a series or just the current instance. This update will be available in New Outlook for the Windows and the web, hashtag New Outlook for Windows. And that's coming out in June.
So while you're talking about that, there was another one for the Windows on the web, and this one, the new Outlook for Windows made me giggle because I was like, what? This isn't there already? But the ability to send updates only to added and removed people.
Yeah, I thought
I
that
didn't
already
realize
existed.
that wasn't there already, but I change a lot of meetings, so I've probably been spamming people and not even realizing it. But I don't use the new Outlook that much, so maybe I haven't been.
So
But
you're
that is
fine.
now, that would be one of those features that would need to have pure parity for me to use. But that one's there too. So just threw that in there because you were talking about hashtag new Outlook for Windows. So
Yeah, one other thing that goes with the new RSVP improvements is new RSVP settings in new Outlook for Windows and the web. So there are two new settings to improve a user experience when responding to meeting invitations. One, do not delete the invitation email after RSVPing. And two, auto decline. I don't know anyone who's going to use this. Auto decline if the attendee's calendar shows as busy. Jennifer, how many meetings do you get in an hour?
Well, if this feature gets turned on, I'm going to go
One.
to one meeting and miss all of the others.
Yeah,
That could be a little bit tricky, but I think we're going to start to see if so a thing that could be cool is once we're all using Copilot, auto follow a meeting if the person's calendar is already busy.
Right.
So that could be a good alternative for, don't
jamming up
delete
your
it,
calendar.
but follow it. That way I can go back and it's going to ping me and let me know that there's updates and stuff like that. So maybe some of those features will come in and see, and maybe our calendars will get better. I think this is the ultimate goal. But we'll see. Tom, I know we've talked about a lot of things. Is there in development? What is exciting you that we haven't already covered? And apologize for jumping in on it, but sorry, not sorry.
No. Not a problem. I'm going to go ahead and stick with the Copilot theme here because there were a number of changes that were announced for Copilot. One very similar to Jen's is that access Copilot directly in New Outlook for Windows and Web. So basically, those two are kind of hand in hand. They're only one numbered off. But in Outlook on the web, which for me is more applicable, that's going to be coming actually in May. But of course, that's just worldwide. All the government tenants don't see it yet. A couple that are coming Copilot for Forms that sound really interesting. One is Copilot in Forms can help you generate draft quizzes. Yeah, that's a good thing. I kind of thought they would suggest questions anyway, but it sounds like this might be a little bit more focused. Now generates icebreakers, fun trivia, quizzes, and assessments with correct answers, which helps user focus more on engagement and interaction. That's great. The other one I found really interesting was Copilot informs smart reminder to gain higher engagement from audience. So the smart reminder feature will monitor and proactively share engagement and submission status to a form's owner in order to suggest follow-up actions. For example, when there is low engagement from the audience with the owner's consent, it will auto notify unresponded or all participants to pay attention and fill in the forms or quizzes. Also, Autopilot Smart Reminder can remind owners to check the form's insights when there are sufficient responses to make decisions. I think that is really great that it's actually doing a lot of that monitoring for you in the background, because a lot of people like, I'm not going to go bother, to look up anything. I'm too busy. I can't get back to it. This will give them some level of access to those things where they don't have to be writing right on top of it. The other thing I thought was interesting, I'm a little curious to how this will work, but Copilot in Loop is going to be available in Loop components in Teams in Outlook. So it just says people with a Copilot license can now leverage Copilot in Loop when they paste Loop components into the Teams app, Outlook, and meeting notes. Doesn't really give a lot of explanation as to what Copilot's going to help you do with those, but
that's kind of cool because when you're in Loop, you can call Copilot to help you draft, to help you do different things.
Good point.
And then
Good point.
Loop lets you cut and paste it everywhere. So if it's pasted in Teams, I'm going to get the same experience and be
That's a
able to
good point.
access Copilot in there. So I think that's what they're getting at there.
Yeah.
So anytime they can make, the same app act the same in other apps, that's like a win. And that's not always a given. So I'm happy with that one.
Yeah. I'll take that one. That's my last one that I had in the in development category.
I had one that I think is interesting. I think it's very interesting. Viva Insights, meeting cost and quality insights.
Ooh, that would be cool.
This is going to let you know, this is going to let leaders have a report showing how their team invests their time in meetings and opportunities to review meetings to reclaim the time. Individuals will have improved meeting review insights in the Viva Insights app and new inline nudges in Outlook to encourage them to be thoughtful when creating a new high-cost meeting. That'll be fun if you go to create a meeting and it pops up and says, this is a very expensive meeting in terms of time and resources, and that might cause us to think differently. So that will be really interesting. I'm sure that, privacy is always first with Microsoft and responsibility and stuff like that. So it's going to be gated, right? Like I'm sure it's going to be covered so you can't see who people are, or it's going to be safe and secure. That's the whole reason you use Office 365.
Right.
So I'm not too worried about that when it comes out, but it's going to be interesting to see because we do have a lot of high cost meetings, and sometimes as long as it's high cost, high volume, not volume, high cost, high value, that's fine. But if it's high cost, low value, then that's not so good. So
42 people who don't need to be there.
Exactly. So it would be looking at those things. Those insights are going to be really, really meaningful, I think. And then it will also, I think, because it's using the Viva and the insights and stuff like that, it will probably find out, is it high cost just because of the people I invited? If they're not engaging, I bet it's not going to be as high of cost, right? Because it knows who engages in the meetings. And then I saw one more. They actually demoed this in the keynote at the Microsoft 365 conference last week, and I was a happy person. How many of us have been on a conference call where there's 4 people sitting in a conference room and they have a camera on all 4 people and the 4 people are talking to each other and you're like, why am I even in this remote meeting with these 4 people that are in a conference room? Well, they showed how it was able to take the camera and it showed a picture of all of them in the conference room together, but then individually, each one of them showed up in the meeting as if they were attending the meeting individually. And so Teams was able to say who was talking on the transcript as well as show everyone individually. And it really made it feel like, hey, we're in one spot. We're all coming into this together. And even though I'm in a room, Teams was able to, not everybody log in, and then whoever mutes their mic, you know, that game that you play when you're also trying to connect to a conference room, it made that scenario a little bit delightful. So
Nice.
I'm excited to see where that comes. Of course, I know the keynotes are planned out meticulously, and so it may not work like that upon arrival, but I'm very excited to see the direction they're going with that one. So that was exciting, I thought.
Cool.
Well, cool. Tamara, do you have anything else in development, or do you want to take us
I
to?
don't.
Well, why don't you take us to rolling out?
Let's see. There's so many good things. I'm gonna go with Tom. I'm sorry. Microsoft Stream Copilot in Stream. So Copilot
so
in
deep.
Stream leverages large language model AI technology to help us quickly get the insights you need from Stream on SharePoint videos. With Copilot in Stream, you can quickly and effectively summarize any video with a transcript and ask deep dive questions for topics you need to understand. Now, this feature is only available for customers who have purchased the Microsoft 365 Copilot license.
So one interesting thing I want to also mention here, when Tamara and I were at a Copilot briefing, was that last week? Yeah, I think it was last week. They were talking about this feature, and unfortunately, a lot of the whole look what Copilot can do within, a Teams meeting or recording or something is predicated on the fact you've got transcription turned on. But some companies, one very close and dear to my heart, basically does not want transcriptions turned on because of PHI and things like that. They apparently are going to have a setting, or they've got a setting that you can turn on that basically says, generate the transcript for this particular meeting within the confines of this meeting. But as soon as the meeting is over and you've done your, recap and stuff like that, delete the transcript. So you don't have it sitting out there.
I think the concept of what you're saying about the transcripts has been very well heard. And I do believe we will see Copilot being able to do summaries without transcripts, without video recording, without all of that kind of stuff. But it's not there yet.
Right.
But you're one of many that had that same feedback. I heard that a lot last week.
Okay.
And Microsoft was very positive when answering it. Of course, not promising anything, but they do have on the roadmap was the one to be able to go without recordings. So it's just using the transcript, but not the recording.
Nice.
So I think we're going to have to see it evolve that way to get to where everyone can use it. But it just means you don't get to be an early adopter.
I'm okay with that. Couple that I will just go ahead and mention, since a certain somebody took the one that I would have talked about.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, we'll discuss this later. So I will, over dinner, right? Save meeting content with collaborative annotations as a whiteboard, and there's also click-through collaborative annotation layers. So we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but with collaborative annotations, it basically means you share your screen and everybody can whip out their little drawing utensils and the whole bit and mark up your screen the whole bit. I love that idea and concept, but the problem is once you turned off your collaborative annotations, basically everything went away. And unless you remember to take a PDF picture of the whole thing, you kind of lost it all, which I thought this is not terribly useful. What this is going to enable you to do is you can actually have this save the content of what you've done in annotation out to a whiteboard, which makes so much sense, because then you can continue to have the team mark things up on the whiteboard and still contribute and not lose all the content that you came up with because somebody forgot to take a screen capture. So I think that's really cool. Also, one of the things that would happen is if you tried to go to a different app as you were doing sharing on yours, would basically shut down the whole annotation collaborative session, which meant you'd probably lose it because you didn't take your screen print. Well, now you'll be able to click through the annotation layer to interact with content in meetings without restarting the current annotation sessions. I think both of those together make the whole annotation thing actually useful, and it doesn't put restraints on it that just make it kind of cumbersome at best and useless at worst. So I'm looking forward to those. Those should both be out this month, and to everybody.
That's great. I've got two. Microsoft Teams optimize for video settings for screen sharing. So when you're in a meeting and you go share a video, you play the audio and different things like that, there's going to be optimization settings where it will auto optimize to get the best playback for everybody based on internet speeds and different things like that. So I think that's great. Anytime we don't have to think about something like that is good. So I like that one. And then the other one for Teams is change background while recording on phone. That's really important because a lot of people, like, they may be recording something that they want to use later. They may be out mobile. They may be something like that. And so you want to be able to kind of change that background. Especially if you're recording something from, say, your car. Just remember to take your seatbelt off, because I've been to some meetings where they've had a pretty wild ride going on because they're wearing their seatbelt, but they have an office background, and so it's really kind of cute and comical. No one was driving, so it was okay. They were the passenger, but it was
that's too
still
funny.
It was still funny. It was a cute little mishap, but that's okay. So that, and then branding. So Microsoft Edge for Business, customize organizational branding using the Edge management service. So admins can customize their organization's branding through Microsoft Edge onto Edge for Business. Why this is going to be important is because if you're using Edge for Business and then you're using Copilot inside of it, you know, the Bing for Business, all of those things, you want it to be branded because that's going to help people understand where they're at, and where they're at is going to determine how they're using all of the features and different things like that. So it almost is I don't want to say a safety benefit, but it's going to give people a sense of safety if they're seeing their company branding, which, you know, we've been instilling in people for years now through the cyber training and different things like that. So excited to see that one. I think that's all I had for rolling out. Tamara, do you have anything else?
Nope,
Well,
I'm
then
good.
we're super easy because the last two are launched, and I'll just pretend I'll just do these two, get them done quick. Extension request and feedback. So Edge Management Service will provide admins and end users with enhanced extensions management experience, so you can manage all your extensions. And then sidebar tools app, a speed test. Now we're going to get a speed test inside of Edge so we can see how well we are performing directly from the tab.
I actually like that one. I think that one's cool because I'm saying, well, my computer's slow. Well, how's your network? I don't know. It's just my computer's slow. Well, let's check your speed app here. You know? And find out that, they're getting 3 meg download. Yeah.
And we know they're looking at it anyway because they're giving us the sleeping tabs that we heard about a week or so ago. So 2 weeks ago, the sleeping tabs. So, you know, look at Edge trying to keep us all productive. All right. Well, that is it for this week. Lots of really good stuff. And we will be back next week with another round of updates. So thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.